and whatnot using acrylic paint. First, I'm going to give you guys a tour of the studio. So a lot of people have seen the studio before. A lot of people have come in and done a lot of things here. But this is the gallery part of the studio. Now the gallery is kind of fun because it's a cultural mecca. It's where people have the opportunity to come in here and they can sit while I'm painting. They can talk with me. They can read a book, play guitar, and guess play with some of my weapons. I've got weapons all over the place because I'm a martial artist as well. So I've always got something going on inside the studio where we go into another room and I teach Filipino martial arts lessons, which is, got some rattan sticks there. But we come in, there's more of the library. Step into the gallery, step into the studio from the gallery. And we've got Skyrim map. A couple of more things. Come around, we'll give you guys a 360 view of the studio. And those are a few of my daughter's paintings there. And then one of my oldest paintings from drawings from high school. Let's see, what year was that one done? That was done in 1993. So very old. But this is what we're working on today. We're going to get in here and we're going to show you guys some details on it. We'll just kind of get ourselves locked in. And give me just a second while I get it ready here. I always like to tell people I am not a professional YouTuber. What I am is I'm a professional artist. So you guys won't ever see any of that fancy cuts or screen stuff. I just don't do it. What I do is, as a professional artist, I'm going to take my time to work on my paintings. Now, I'm going to show you guys something really cool. You can see that I've got some detail here, but it's not quite where I want it to be. What I want to do is I want to start getting that stuff kind of to have more form. And in order to add more form to it, I'm going to use two different types of paint. And it's going to be surprising. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of this transparent burnt umber, and then I'm going to get some burnt sienna. So let me just load those onto my palette real quick, and then I'm going to show you guys using some makeup brushes how to add form to something that's kind of green. You wouldn't think that you'd go with a transparent burnt umber in order to add form. But I promise you, this is going to be great. You're going to love it. And we're going to go back to my handy-dandy makeup brushes to do it. Okay? And then this little brush, because this is a much smaller portrait than what I usually do. Usually I make them great big ones, but I really wanted to incorporate a wine goblet. Most of this is just blocked in. Blocking in is a method that a lot of artists will use in order to just kind of get an idea. Get it in there and then work on the details later. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into my transparent burnt umber, and I'm just going to take and use that to come across some of these shadow areas, and then use my makeup brush to pull it the way that I want it to do. And the makeup brush is going to do exactly what a makeup brush is supposed to do. It's going to help you blend in different areas on your canvas. Now this is my much darker shadows. You'll see when I pull in the burnt sienna. The burnt sienna is going to pull it in better ways, in different spots, and it's going to add a little bit more. Now I've got it a little bit too wet, so I'm going to thicken it back up, come back in again, and when I pull it into these areas, here's where it just kind of blends, and you're going to start seeing form. Since it's transparent mostly, it is going to just pull across the green, and it's going to allow some of that green to shine right through it. And this is one of the ways that I get some really great form on any of my paintings. And I do this on any of my flesh tones as well, because I find that transparent burnt umber is just one of those tones that really gives you all of the form you're looking for. And then again, we pop in with the makeup brush. We use the makeup brush to blend. And girls, I'm sure you're going to be a lot better at this, or guys that wear makeup, or any stage people are going to be a lot better at this than I am because, well, I don't wear makeup. Maybe I ought to start, right? Okay. Okay, you guys can start to see the form as I use this to get this real nice intermediate tone as it goes into my shadows. Now that's important. It's important because I want it to have this real rich quality to it. And that rich quality is going to give me this kind of fantasy feel. Now, we're going to pop out of that, and now I'm going to bring in my burnt sienna. My burnt sienna is going to be a richer color, and it's going to overpower in some places, so I want to be really careful how I put that on there. Because if you use too much of this in the wrong place, it's just going to really overpower the entire thing and not give you what you were looking for. And then you'll have to go back over with your green, you'll have to start all over again and start moving through. And again, this is mostly just blocked in. What you'll see is that as soon as this burnt sienna and the transparent burnt umber are dried out, I'm going to come in with some permanent black, and that permanent black is going to give me what it is that I'm looking for as far as detail. So it's going to pick out the detail. And a lot of artists out there will say, well, you know, you're never supposed to use black. Well, you've got to know the rules to break the rules, right? We'll bring some of that in here too. I'm going to use that same method down here. Cypher Reacts. Hey, thanks for joining in. Thanks for the comment. Anybody who has any questions, feel free to just throw a comment in. I love talking to my fans and my friends as I'm going through these things. And while this is drying, we're going to just pop through here and do the same thing I did to the face. And the hand is going to have a lot more detail that I add later. I may not even add all of the detail while I'm in here live, because sometimes it requires a little bit more concentration to get those areas, but we'll see. I'm even going to take that stuff, I'm going to pull it through here where I've got the, oh yeah, I like that, where I've got the white hair. And that's going to help me get it to pop out and be kind of different from where I've got my horns at. Gives me the opportunity to differentiate it, get me the different kind of contrast that I need. Maybe pop some in here. And then again, makeup brushes. Man, makeup brushes are my secret weapon. I use them in almost all of my paintings. If you guys want to see some of the other paintings, please like and subscribe and follow me so that every time I do a live painting, you guys can watch me paint live. This isn't even all of the detail that's going to go into any of this stuff either, guys. This is literally just a step in the process. But you can already see by just adding that burnt umber and the burnt sienna, I get a much richer color to my portraits. And a portrait of an orc is no different from a portrait of doing somebody else, except for maybe somebody else is not quite as ugly as the orc. And then again, hey, who am I to say? Maybe somebody else is just as ugly. And Mike, you ended up saying something that I cannot read. So I don't know if that's in a different language or whatnot. It looks like Cyrillic or Greek. I don't know. So your comment, I can't actually see what that says. Which is great, because if it was an insult, well, I'm not going to be able to respond to it. If it was a compliment, I'd love to know what that compliment is in English. Because the only two languages that I know are English and bad English. And boy, am I fluent in bad English. Okay, I'm going to bring back through here. I'm going to get that. I can always come in with my highlights a little later and pick out more details if I want. But I'm not going to pick out any of those details until I'm ready to do it. Right now, we're going to switch over real quick to a very fine, small brush. Very, very small. We're going to get some really liquid, permanent black here. One of the things you want to do is this ferrule, which is the gold area here. Take your hand and get any of that extra water off of it, because it is acrylic paint. Otherwise, when you do it, it's going to drip right down, and it's going to make that thinner than you really want it to be. It's one of those secrets that you just really want to do, so pull it down, get it clean. If there's too much, I take to the top and I round it onto my backdrop, and then I can come in and pick out my details. And here we go. You're going to watch how this is just going to give me some really good details, and I can go in with my highlights at any time after this and pick them out, but not until I've got my differentiation and my contrast from where I've got my original portrait. We're going to come in and add some real character lines right here. Just he's a very old guy. He's got a lot of different character. He's got a lot of different lines on his face. I love having this big stern area right above the brow, right above the nose. Get a couple extra. Get it wet again. I'm going to pull that out. And I'm just going to use the tip of my brush to get some super fine lines. Maybe he's got a bunch of extra wrinkles over here. And these wrinkles, these are really what define the face. So if you don't add that in there, then you're not going to have a big, angry, ugly orc. And if he's not a big, angry, ugly orc, and this guy is beautiful. He's beautiful and as angry and sophisticated as he is. And I'll work on the wine goblet later. I'll get a real nice gold band across the top there. Okay, let's get some of these details in here. All right, and again, please like and subscribe. That's one of the best ways for me to know you guys are out there. And then take a look at the description, because if there's ever one of my paintings or a print that you guys want to see, you can find out details inside the description. But while I'm doing this and picking out the details of his face, I'll just tell you, original paintings, everybody's like, oh, an original painting is going to be so much money. It's ridiculous out there. Well, it's not, really. Anybody who tunes into my YouTube channel and is a subscriber, normally I'd sell a painting like this for $500 or $600, but if you're a YouTube subscriber, you guys have an opportunity to try and pick up the original for just $250. That's if you're in the continental US, so the lower 48 states. And if you are, then you have a chance to pick it up for $250. And that includes the shipping that will get it out to you. So you don't have to pay anything for shipping. Now, if you keep on saying, hey, you know what? I'm really broke. I just don't have that kind of money. I can't afford to pay $250. Well, you can pick up a full-size 16 by 20 canvas print from me of this, and you can pick that up for $100, and that includes the shipping as well. And that $100, that is cheap. People say, well, why do you do it so cheap? Well, I want to be the everyman's artist. I want something that everyone can afford. And I like to let my work get out there about in the world so that people can really get a feel for it. And then if you want to pick up just an 8 by 10 limited edition print, an 8 by 10 limited edition print is only going to be $25. And again, that includes the shipping, and that's if you're in the lower 48 states. So, you guys that are up in Alaska and Hawaii, I'm sorry guys, you're screwed. There's no way I'm shipping to you guys. It's just not going to happen. All right, so if anybody in the comments is in Alaska or Hawaii, you're just going to have to say, hey, we really hate you because you won't ship to us. Well, you know what? Everybody's got to have somebody to hate, and that's kind of what drives me. So I've got lots of haters out there that don't like my style, and that's okay. I don't paint for everyone. Like I said, I want to be the everyman's artist. I want to be the guy that paints and has them at such an affordable price that everyone can own an original piece of artwork in their house. I really don't like that. I'm going to just darken that up, and I'll come through and get that stuff out later. In fact, let's start making the wine glass have a little bit of reflection and some refraction. Maybe we'll even hide a bunch of details of this hand a little later on. Hey, Blaine, nice to see you tune in, Blaine. Thanks for the shout out. For anybody that doesn't know, Blaine's one of my fans and my friends from way up in the frozen north. He is up there in Montana. And he's a great dude. I love him to death. Also, if you guys were ever looking for someone who was the absolute best at shaping concrete with a very special method that he won't let anybody know, Blaine's the dude. So, if you're up there in the frozen north and you need someone to do some work for you that's concrete, Blaine's your guy. In fact, nobody can do it better. Now we got a little problem. I forgot where I put one of my brushes. In fact, I don't know where it's at. It's not in my water, so it's got to be off to the side here somewhere. Oh well, we'll switch over and use a different brush for my blending. So we're going to go away from the makeup brush. We're going to use this one right here. Blaine, you're a good dude. Blaine, you mind telling me where at inside my studio I ended up losing my brush at? Because it'd be nice to know. Did I put it on the side? These things happen all the time. Probably, oh, it's dropped on the floor. No, that's the wrong one too. I got all these makeup brushes that I don't want to use, and I can't find the one that I do want to use. Oh well. We'll move over and we'll use just the tip. And only the tip. Thanks, Blaine. Yeah, that's not where it's at. Jerk face. Okay, we're going to pull this over and kind of hide some detail with my transparent burnt umber. It's actually picking up paint because it's still a little bit wet. That's okay, I'll work with that. I'll get it to do what I want it to do later. I'm going to use some more of that transparent burnt umber right through here to try and give me some deep shadow. Use it up through this area as well. And why don't we pick out, oh, I just found the brush. It was off in my other mixing water. Blaine, why didn't you tell me that's where it was? Okay. We're going to come in and I'm going to put some highlights to give the face even more detail. But first, let's get those eyes to pop. Let's get those eyes to really come out. I'm going to mix in some sky blue with some titanium white. And we're going to start putting some details of these eyes in. Doesn't have to be a lot of detail because these are tiny little eyes. But we do want to get it in here. If you look really closely, you can see that my hand's a little wet. Don't do that. Don't get that on your canvas. I can do it because I'll just end up making it work for me a little later on. But don't you do it. Not until you get to the point where you know how to do it. All right. We want to make sure that we have a good blue in there. And you might ask, well, gosh, aren't you going to put in some shadow here and there? I am. I'm so glad you asked. What a phenomenal thing for you to notice. The detail will come in later as soon as that dries up. Cool thing about using acrylic paint is acrylic paint can go on fast and dry fast. All right, we're going to come in with some dark blue. This is phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is one of those things. It's actually called phthalocyanine. Or cyanine. It's just one of those words that you really don't want to know. You don't care and I don't care. We're just going to call it phthalo blue and we're not going to call it anything else. Check out a little bit more detail. Make that a little shaded with that phthalo blue. And we'll let that dry. Now, what would we do in order to get a real nice, bright, vibrant area on our highlights for the face? Well, we're going to take some medium yellow and some titanium white. We're really going to get that out there. We'll just add just a tiny bit of the green that I use as my base coat because we don't want a lot of it. We want mostly the yellow and the titanium white. And we're going to get it mixed really thin but very vibrant. We've got it there. We're going to come up to the top and make sure that I don't have too much on. We're going to grab that water, get it off of there, then we'll come in with some detail. And just by adding these highlights, you're going to start seeing some things pop out real nicely for you. That's really the key to everything is your contrast. If you don't have your contrast right, where you've got some really good darks and some very nice highlights, then none of this is going to look right to you. Okay, kind of pull it up in there, and you can start to see detail come out. And you may say, hey, you know what? I want it to be more yellow. Well, just mix more yellow in with what you've already got mixed for your titanium white, your base green, and your yellow. Again, pull it up here and come over top of it. And we're just going to dot it in because that'll give us a texture as we're going along. So as we dot that in, that texture is really going to pick itself out from the background. It's going to go over top of some of our black lines. That's okay, because that's going to give us a little bit more form. And here we go. All right. Starting to get a good texture going on and some good detail. If you lose too much of it, dip back in. Luckily for me, I've got it right here on the top. I'm just going to dab that in with a couple of things. Almost like he's got some real heavy pores, which he would if he was this old. And maybe he's got some extra scars in there. We don't have to worry about throwing in his scars unless I really want to. In a lot of my paintings, I'll take and I'll put a scar right across one of the eyes. That's just a fun little way to give it more character and detail. And that can be brought in. If you ever do one of these scars, you're going to take a medium red and then your transparent burnt umber, and you're going to mix in some Payne's Gray. Now, Payne's Gray is one of my other real fun things that I like to use. Gives me the opportunity to get more mixing colors than you've ever done with anything else. Payne's Gray is a phenomenal mixing, a phenomenal medium to add extra detail to your darks without getting too dark, because it's semi-transparent as well. Yeah, this is looking good. All right, let's pop some on top of this knuckle, a little bit over here. You're not going to have as many pores on your knuckles as you do up in your face. So don't overdo it on your knuckles. Maybe a little bit around here, and he's got just back here a little bit of light showing, but not too much. He's got a little coming across here and there. Kind of that area that's along the scowl line. Make sure you're not picking up any paint. There, we've got the scowl line. Top edge of my lips is all I need to put the highlights on because the bottom edge of the lips isn't going to have any. I really want to get that nose to be the brightest area of the skin tone. I want that to pop more than anything else. And then there's more light that hits this area here. The light's coming from this direction and going this way across the canvas. So if that's the way that your light's at, you have to get an idea of how it's traveling and where it's going to be for your direct light, your reflected light, and your refracted light. All of those are important. Okay, now we're going to pop in and do a little bit more detail down here. Hey, you know what? This is a good time to do that gold band, isn't it? The way you make gold, take some of your transparent burnt umber, take some yellow ochre, mix that together, and then add just a touch of red, and that is going to give you gold. Now, your gold is one of these colors that's going to have so many different types of reflection and refraction. So here we go. Let's make a gold band across the top. And we're going to have to hit that a few times with different colors. But right now we just want to make sure we get that nice horizontal line. We don't have to worry about doing any kind of perspective on this because as far as where the goblet of wine sits, it's literally on your eye level line. Now before we can add anything more onto that, that's going to have to dry. So we can move on to the hand once more. We're just going to grab our highlight that we've already got mixed up. We're going to come through. We just want to pull a couple of colors across the knuckles, and we want the brush to leave its texture behind because that's going to help you out with your knuckles, and it's going to give you really what you want as far as that form. Let's do that same thing right here. We're using a very small brush for this area. I'm not going to worry about bringing anything through here because I'm going to hide that in shadow because I really don't want to do the detail on it. And, well, it's my painting. I can do that. Anybody who argues with me can fight Blaine. That's right, Blaine. You take him. All right. Blaine's tough. He's mean. He's tough and mean. In fact, I challenge everyone to go and fight Blaine. I'll pay you $0.25 for doing it. 25 cents. That's all you get. I'm an artist. I don't have that much money. Let's come over to the ear. The ear does have a little bit more texture to it. It's got some, he's old, so he's going to have these wrinkles that go in on it. You don't want to add too much in too many places, but you do want to get the indication so that you've got form. I think the ears look good. So let's come down here and work on some veins. The veins in his hand are going to have a highlight area and a low light. Let's see here. Pull it through there. It's got a couple going in a different direction. We're going to come in and we're going to get those areas of the knuckles. This side of the knuckles is going to have a highlight. I'll come in here and I'll put more shadow in there. I don't have to worry about getting all of it because part of it you're not seeing, and down here on the fourth finger, your pinky, you're not going to see that either. Again, I'm going to take and I'm going to hide all of that inside with some shadow. Okay, this bottom hand hasn't got much form to it. So when this dries, I'm going to come in with that same method that I did earlier with the transparent burnt umber, which is what gave me this real nice form here. And then the burnt sienna, and I'm going to use that on the hand, but I'm going to let that dry first. So this is probably dry enough. We'll just test it with pinky. It's dry enough to start going over. I'm going to go straight into my yellow ochre, and I'm going to pick my highlight line. Highlight. Yeah, well, you know. This is live. I will make mistakes. But they're my mistakes to make. So anybody who doesn't like it, well, you know where the exit is. All right. And then we're going to mix that with some of our gold color that we already had together. Pull across that again. And this edge right here, that's going to pick up probably the most light right there. Pull some line down. Get it there. I'll come in with some white and go over top of that a little later. Right now I just want that line of the gold to be in there. Now, one of the things that's going to make this goblet really stand out is I need to have a real vibrant area for my red. And then, just like on the face where you're trying to get your different contrast, I'm going to go with real dark contrast in here. And even on this goblet, I'm going to pull in and start using, boy, this is a really full goblet. I'm not even going to let any of the stuff. This guy really likes his drink. He's going to bring it all the way to the top. There's not going to be anything. He's filled it all the way to the brim. He's lucky it's not spilling out over the top of this thing. Okay, that's all we need for our red there. But it's a little bit too thick. I'm going to go back to my really wonderful makeup brush, and I'm going to soften it. And as I pull that, it's going to pull it through these areas. It'll get it to match up real nice against my gold. And then back to our transparent burnt umber. And the transparent burnt umber is going to mix with it and give me a feel of wine in a goblet. There's a lot more I can do to that, but I don't need to do it right now because we're going to go back up with a little bit of our burnt sienna, and we're going to touch up some spots on the face to give it a little more form. The transparent burnt sienna is going to give us a warm tone. That warm tone is something that I love as a transition, so that it goes from my highlights all the way into my shadows. And it's something that you can use in order to get a richer feel for your transitions. Okay. We're moving along swimmingly here. This is looking good. Let's darken up that part of that. Darken up the bottom part of the lips. Darken that up and then through there. And right back over here. And then use that burnt sienna with your makeup brush down here on the hand as well. The paint was a little too thin and wet earlier, so we're going to use this to get it now that it's dried a little bit. I move around my painting a lot as it dries. That is still too wet right there. That hasn't dried out. Because every time I go over top of it, it's picking up the paint. So, once I get this in here like that, I'm going to use the same makeup brush. Get it real dry, so pull it across my towel as it shakes everything. And I'm going to go straight into my permanent black. And my permanent black is just going to pull across it. Now I've got to go real lightly, otherwise it'll do the same thing that it did the last time. It'll pull my paint up. I don't want it to pull my paint up. I also want this shadow from this hand to cover up a lot of the wine glass here. Maybe put a little shadow there. It'll add more form to my wine glass, especially on this little curve there. I like the little bit of red that I'm getting there, but I'm going to pull that darker here. Now, this is just my method of doing it. You guys can find out how you like doing your painting. This is just one of the things I like to do, painting a little bit live to help show some people how to do some detail, answer questions for them. Let's get around for the bottom of the hand there. Darken it up as it goes inside this bit of armor. And there, and this is black. So let's say I wanted to get these shadows really deep here. And later on, if I decide that it's too deep, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use my phthalo blue with my black and get that pulled in. Why don't we work on some of the hair now? The hair's not done, by the way. That's just the way it's going to look up to this point. I'm going to pull in a great big brush for my hair. I'm going to take it, I'm going to get some thin white. And that thin white, I'm going to have just a touch of my burnt sienna and my burnt umber in it. I'm going to get it real liquid, pull all the water away from it. Then I'm going to start on the outside of the hair and then pull in. And that gives me the opportunity and the ability to control the pressure from the very outside coming inside. And it's a real exercise in patience doing hair, because it's more shape than it is line, but it is a lot of layering to get it just right. I like that. Get a little cowlick up there, really thin. Pull it down across. And you want to make it smooth strokes. You don't want to make it dit. You want to be able to control how you get that in there. Now, I'm going to go for some thicker white paint, very vibrant titanium white. And I'm going to go over top of where I just was at. I'm going to pick out highlight areas. And the wet paint that's already on there is going to give me the ability to mix it right on the canvas. And I was just telling you that I like to go from here and come in. Well, you got to know when you want to break your own rules as well. Also, don't have a whole bunch of caffeine before you do any of these, or you'll have a real pain trying to get any kind of detail because your hand will shake like crazy. I like the way that's pulling in. Now, someone might say, hey, you know, those antlers that you've got on there, those antlers seem to be just a little bit too much of the same color and you can't really differentiate them. I'm going to come in later with more of a yellow white and do the antlers and then pick out a different texture on the antlers. You guys might be able to see that while I'm doing it. I might end the painting or the live session before that. I don't know yet. Depends on how I feel. Great thing is it's my channel. I get to do what I want. My painting. Okay, let's pull this part down really heavy. Oh yeah, I like that. And then we'll pull some off of it. I'm getting a drag because it's thick paint. It's not thinned out. That's okay. Like I said, no when to break your own rules. I don't want to do too much of the detail here because I still have to come in and get the armor done. But there we go. I think we're going to use a fine brush, a much finer brush for that area, because we've got to get, oh, we got a little bit of blue in there with our white. We don't want blue in there. Okay. I'm not too worried about it getting globby there. I'll come in and fix it later. But I do want to get some nice solid highlights here. And you can see before I did this, I had a variety of colors that were going through the hair. When you end up taking your vibrant white across it afterwards, it gives you more of a form. So there you go. I think that's where we'll end the live painting. Just give you guys an idea. Again, if you have not already liked and subscribed to my channel, please do so that you guys can see all of the live paintings I do. Go back and take a look at them. I think I have, 100 out there right now. And a lot of them give you an opportunity to see what's going on inside the studio. Oh, we've got one more thing. What is that makeup brush called? I have no idea. I buy these things in a set from any of the makeup stores. And clearly these are from 3 different sets because sometimes even I, a professional artist, I'm too stupid to make sure that I clean them. And then I have to throw them away and then I have to buy new sets. So this is just what they are. This one that I like to use for a lot of the little detail, it's very short. It's kind of thick right there. This is super soft, so is this one. These two are almost the same. This one just gives me a little broader area. So that's it, guys. Hey, like, subscribe, and by all means, if you want to keep me painting, buy a painting, buy a print, buy a canvas full-size print, do something. Oh, you know what? Let's do this before we end it. Let's give us some detail in the eyes with just a little bit of white. And then a highlight. And let's just get that right through there. And then a highlight. And now our eyes come alive a little bit more. If it's too vibrant and bright, I'll just put a little bit more of my sky blue on there. But there you have it. All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. You guys are great. I appreciate all of my subscribers and my friends. And if you want something, take a look, reach out to me. In the description, you have everything that you need to find out in order to get in touch with me. Thank you very much.